Seriously, just take a second and think about that. Your car breaks down, an unexpected trip to the ER. Could one of those moments completely throw your life off the rails? Stick with me because we're not just going to talk about that question. I'm going to give you the exact blueprint to make sure your answer is always a calm, confident nope. You see, for millions of people, everyday life is like walking a financial tightrope, but without a safety net. And the data, well, it shows a pretty shocking level of fragility, where just one little gust of wind could mean a major, major fall. So, remember that question I just asked? Well, here's the answer for most people. A staggering 59% of Americans can't cover a surprise $1,000 expense. I mean, think about that. That is nearly 6 out of every 10 people you know walking that tightrope completely exposed. And honestly, for some, it's even worse. A full 21%, that's more than 1 in 5 Americans, has zero emergency savings. Not a little bit, not a couple $100, absolutely nothing set aside for when life, inevitably happens. Now, this is where it gets really interesting. When you break it down by generation, you can see this clear trend where younger generations are starting out with an even thinner financial cushion. I mean, look at Gen Z, with a median of just $200. That's almost no buffer against even the smallest financial shock. And this right here, this is the trap. It's like financial quicksand. An emergency hits, you've got no choice but to swipe a high-interest credit card. And then suddenly, any money you could have been saving is now just feeding interest payments, pulling you deeper and deeper into debt, and making it almost impossible to build that safety net. So how in the world do we break this cycle? Well, we need to stop thinking about savings as some kind of punishment or a chore. Let's reframe this. An emergency fund isn't a rainy day fund. It is your financial get-out-of-jail-free card. It's all about liberation. Because the real return you get on this money isn't the interest rate, it's peace of mind. It's this psychological buffer that lets you handle a crisis with a clear head instead of a heart full of fear. This quote, it just nails it. It's a complete mental shift. When you aren't completely panicking about how to pay for the problem, your brain is totally free to focus on how to solve the problem. And that kind of clarity in a moment of crisis, that's not just helpful, it's a superpower. Okay, so what's the goal here? What are we shooting for? The standard advice is to save up 3 to 6 months of your essential expenses. And listen, that word essential is so important. We're talking about the absolute must-haves: rent, food, utilities. We're not talking about your Netflix subscription or dinners out. This makes the goal way more achievable. All right, we have our target. Now let's talk about the actual plan to build it. And here's the secret. It's not about willpower. It's not about finding some huge chunk of cash. It's about creating a dead simple, automated system that does all the heavy lifting for you. Now, where you actually keep this money is so important. As you can see here, you're trying to balance 3 things. You need easy access, you need it to be safe, and you want it to grow a little. Investing is way too risky for emergency money, and just stashing cash means inflation eats it for lunch. That's why the clear winner, hitting all 3 of those marks, is the high-yield savings account. And here's exactly why. A regular traditional savings account pays you almost nothing. It's basically a glorified mattress. But a high-yield account actually puts your money to work for you. To put it in perspective, 10 grand in an HYSA could earn you $450 in a year. That same 10 grand in a traditional account, maybe $40. It's an absolute no-brainer. This plan is all about building momentum. Step 1 is the quick win. Just focus on getting that first $1,000 saved. That alone is a massive psychological buffer. Then, step 2, this is the secret sauce: automated. Set up a transfer from every single paycheck, even if it's just a small amount. And finally, step 3 is the accelerator. Any extra cash you get, a tax refund, a bonus, some side hustle money, send it straight to your fund to supercharge your progress. Hey, by the way, if you're finding this financial blueprint valuable, hitting that subscribe button is the best way to let us know. It really does help us create more explainers just like this one. Okay. Now I want to show you why this is so much more than just a bunch of numbers on a spreadsheet. These are real stories that show the truly life-altering power of having that safety net in place. Just try to imagine this perfect storm of bad luck. You get hit with a sudden medical crisis, your income gets chopped in half, and your car dies, all at the same time. For most people, that's game over, a total financial wipeout. But one person who had a fully funded emergency account described the outcome in just 2 words: just fine. That is the power we're talking about. Or think about this story. A man passed away completely unexpectedly, leaving his family just reeling. But his 9-month emergency fund, it did way more than just pay the bills. It gave his widow the single most precious thing she could have in that moment: time. Time to grieve, time to plan, time to make huge life decisions without the immediate panic of financial ruin. And, an emergency isn't always a broken down car or a medical bill. Sometimes the emergency is a soul crushing, toxic situation. This fund gave one person the power to just walk away from a job that was literally causing severe anxiety attacks. And that's the ultimate freedom, right? The ability to choose your own well being. So let's bring all this home. Building this fund, it's not about depriving yourself. It's about building a foundation for your own freedom. And you know what the best part is? You can start this whole process right now, today. Here is your 3-step mission should you choose to accept it. Today, calculate your number. Figure out what 3 months of your essential living costs actually is. That's your target. This week, go online and open that high-yield savings account. I promise it takes like 5 minutes. And finally, before you get your next paycheck, set up that automatic transfer. Don't even overthink the amount. Even $20 is a huge victory because it means you've started. Thanks so much for watching. If this deep dive helped light up the path to financial stability for you, please subscribe. It helps us keep our mission going of making these complex topics simple and, more importantly, actionable. Look, we've laid out the entire blueprint. The path from feeling fragile to feeling free is right here in front of you. So the only real question left is, what's your first step going to be?